Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to continue watching Danielle and Mohamed. Let's watch.
Hung on the social media thing.
Me and Danielle, we started arguing and fighting about the rumors on the internet. She gets mad and jealous and she started acting crazy. She tried to lock me in the bedroom. She scares me sometimes. I felt like I was in a prison.
Interesting. So according to him, which we don't know if it's true or not or what the circumstances were, but if we take his word for it, which seems possible, or I will say that although the show is showing us, and who knows what Danielle's really like, but the show is showing us a version of Danielle that doesn't seem like she would do that. We know better than to judge a book by its cover, I suppose. But according to him, she has locked him in a room and made him feel abused and like he was a prisoner. So if that is true, that's a big yikes. Maybe we'll hear more details about that.
He's still dead.
He's had since December to cool off, so we'll see.
He's still the same person.
I don't know, he's probably calmed down some now.
I feel like my mom is being naive. Like, it all just goes right over her head. I feel like she's in love with the person that he was before, not the person that he is now.
Again, as I've said before, to expose your children to the details, even though they're not young children, but they're still children, I believe. But even if they're adult children, to expose them to that is to put a lot of pressure on them. It would be better if she confided in other people, worked it out, and then just informed them about the broad strokes of, so we talked, maybe afterwards she could say, so I talked with him and we are going to move forward with this. The kids should know about their stepdad because that's what he is, essentially, at least legally. But I don't know. I keep harping on this activity, this dynamic that we see where any parent will involve their children in the details of their romantic life and their chaos, which can be neutral, but it also can be harmful. I can't tell which one it is from this, but it just gives me a bad feeling.
It makes me mad because I don't want you to meet with him, but I know that you're not going to listen to me, and I know that you think that it's going to go good.
Probably not. Because
So the possible harm is that the daughter is talking about how she doesn't want her mom to go. And I think that, given what the circumstances are, and actually we can trust the daughter more than we can trust ourselves because the daughter knows a lot more details, that it would be a bad thing if Danielle did that. Why can't they just communicate over email of like, okay, we're moving forward with the divorce or whatever it is. Just separate and move on with your life. Why meet up with them? That could create chaos. That could create the possibility of the two of you getting back together, which I don't think is going to happen. But anyway, the kids are worried about that. They're worried about their mother. When your parents, particularly when your children are in danger, you feel tremendous powerlessness as a child, and to expose your children to that. Now, it's not to say that she shouldn't go and talk to Mohamed, but she shouldn't be risking the pain and the frustration and the worry that the children are going through. Danielle should be talking with people, adults, therapists, siblings, parents, these kinds of people, not our children about this.
if we split and when he goes to remove his conditions, he has to show either the annulment or the divorce papers. Me filing the annulment and scaring him into coming back to me, it worked.
I don't like him. None of us.
Yikes. She said that before, and it's just a huge yikes that she would use an annulment as a coercive act to get him to come back. Now, if she wants to have a conversation of closure, I understand that, but I also wonder if she's trying to get him back into a relationship with her. And that is a huge, huge problem. To coerce someone in any way is bad, but to use legal action and risk of deportation, threats of deportation, to force someone to talk with you in person and or to force them back in a relationship with you is on the highest order of problematic.
Still, it's not about us, but in some way it is, because we have to live with him if you stay married to him. Or we're dead set on leaving if he comes back. She basically just lets him walk all over her. And he treats everyone here like crap.
I'm gonna go.
All right, a little bit more detail. I hadn't heard that before. The daughters are saying, or one of the daughters is saying that he treats them like crap. So that's unfortunate. And then I think I also heard her say that if he does come back, they're moving out. So that is a huge worry for the kids that they shouldn't have to be going through.
Nothing ever changed. Okay.
In my fantasy, I'm hoping that when we meet and talk, we can possibly get back together and work on our marriage.
I mean, it's just such a huge yikes that you would threaten someone with annulment and deportation to get them back in a relationship with you. I mean, we've seen behaviors where we suspected that from some of the cast members, but this is so explicit that it is immoral, just incredibly immoral, to threaten to ruin someone's life in order to get them in a relationship with you is abusive. It's wrong. It's immoral. It's just terrible.
Okay, should be good. Is there a reason why you still have all of the pictures up?
I'm not ready to take them down.
Maybe if you took them down, it would help you some, like not seeing them every day.
That is a parentified child if I ever saw one. If you didn't know the details and you couldn't see markers of age, you would assume that her daughter was like her older sister or maybe even her mom, her therapist even. And I don't know, but if this is a consistent dynamic, which we could imagine it might be, this is tremendous pressure put on a child. It is causing a child to grow up too fast. It's causing a child a lot of anxiety because they worry about their mom, and a lot of resentment, a lot of anger that children will go through because they want their parents to be more mature and more capable than them. So I think we're seeing an example of parentification.
I don't look at them every day. I don't even really pay attention.
So what's the point of having them on?
I don't know. They're just there.
All of his other stuff is packed away.
The best case scenario is that he's willing to work on our marriage because I still love him.
Now, I will say that having pictures up of your soon-to-be ex-husband isn't a terrible thing. We have this notion in our society that you have to, throw away all the pictures. You got to block them on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. You have to move on with your life and, clean cut, clean break. And for the most part, people aren't really like that. They need some overlap, if you will, some transition, if you will. And for some people, that transition involves leaving pictures up on the wall. So there's nothing wrong with leaving the pictures up. There is something wrong with coercing someone into a relationship with you.
3 or 4 months now.
Since you left?
I'm here.
This is the first time I've seen Mohamed in 4 months, and I want answers to why he left the way he did, why he went on the trips and stuff, why he's done what he's done.
All right, that's not uncommon to want some explanations. We usually don't get satisfactory explanations in those situations, but it's normal. She wants to know, did you cheat on me? Did you really love me? What have you been doing this whole time? She's not entitled to that information, really. I mean, if he doesn't want to talk about it, I mean, they're broken up, which is clear. They both have been saying they want a divorce. She wants an annulment. He wants a divorce, but she also wants it back. So I will say there's nothing unusual about wanting answers to questions, but we'll see what happens here.
Why'd you leave the way you did?
Okay.
You got up to go to work, packed your stuff. Adios. You just walked out the door.
Ask yourself why. Why did I leave that way?
All right, so I didn't know that. He just left in secret, sounds like, or suddenly left, and she wants to know why. And then instead of saying why, which would be a wonderful opportunity for there to be some closure around that, he deflects and says, ask yourself that question. So, her question, I think, is okay. He doesn't have to answer it, but if he did answer, it would be helpful if he said, well, when I first met you, I wanted to be with you. Then once I was in a longer term relationship, I realized we were incompatible and I left, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry I left. I'm sorry I left so quickly. I guess I should have talked with you about it, but I'm sorry about that. Okay. And then next question. Hey, deserving listeners, as y'all know, I am constantly recommending that people go to therapy. We all need therapy from time to time. Well, one of the options available that is definitely worth checking out is BetterHelp. If you're looking for a therapist, I would give it a try by going to betterhelp.com/Kirk. Make sure you use the promo code Kirk because you get 10% off your first month, and it really helps us out. As you watch these videos, I know many of you have been motivated to find your own therapist, which is great because you deserve it. And I know also that it can be hard to find a good fit, find the right one for you. Well, one of the options available in terms of your shopping is to go to betterhelp.com/Kirk. I've been told you can start communicating with your therapist in under 24 hours. You can message your counselor at any time. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. I've also been told that it's often less expensive than in-person therapy, and you should know that this service is available to clients worldwide. So go to betterhelp.com/Kirk to get 10% off your first month today.
How did you act every single time I tried to leave?
Are you talking about when I sit in front of the door because you want to leave when we're trying to have a conversation?
Yikes. Wow. This is taking a turn. So we heard from him about possible abusive behavior, and I personally was on the fence about that. I thought, well, I mean, he knows obviously better than I would. But on the other hand, he seems like he's capable of exaggerating anyway. But now we're hearing confirmation, not only of one instance, but she's referring to several instances without knowing that it's abusive and illegal. So he's saying he left because, suddenly because she would have imprisoned him, which is illegal. Understand that. And abusers will do that. One of the hallmarks of an abuser is that when you try to leave, they will block your way out. Now, some people will do that who we wouldn't frame or conceptualize as abusers. It's always wrong, or I will say under most circumstances, it's a wrong act. It's immoral to do that to another human being because it is essentially imprisonment. And it often will lead to a lot of pain and trauma for both people and possible violence, because if you're trying to leave and someone's standing in the doorway of your only way out, of your only egress, you actually have somewhat of a right, I don't know the legality, to use hands-on to move them out of the way. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm not a lawyer, but at least morally speaking, I would say that you do, in my opinion. But anyway, so she's admitting that she would not let him out of the room. Now, I've talked about this before, where when you have a preoccupied and avoidant person, or at least an argument where one person wants to, I'm done with this conversation, I don't want to talk, and the other person's like, no, we must talk about this, that the no person will sometimes really dislike it when the other person is trying to leave, and they might actually try to block their way out. So maybe that's what was happening. That's what it sounds like.
Because anytime you feel threatened or you don't want to answer questions, you leave.
I'm not forced to be with someone treating me that way. I leave.
Now, when there's things to be talked about.
Again, there's nothing wrong with wanting answers to questions. Absolutely. There's nothing wrong. I mean, so if I was to take a guess, I would, and I've been hypothesizing this from the beginning, is that because he said this as much, that he came out not in love with her and not having any kind of feelings for her, hoping that they would grow, probably because he thought he did want to come to the United States. He did want a green card, but he also hoped, kind of had a fantasy on some level, that maybe he would fall in love and it would work out between the two of them. It very quickly was known to him that it would not work out. He was pulling away very quickly after getting married, or even before getting married, honestly. And she felt that distance because there was closeness when they first were in person. And she missed that, and that's okay. She was hurt. She longed for him. She wanted confirmation that their relationship was okay. She's looking for that acceptance and non-rejection. And the impulse was normal, probably, but the implementation of the impulse was problematic. And so she's grilling him. Instead of saying, okay, I think he's done, and but I don't know, because I'm guessing he wasn't being very straightforward with her either because of the green card issue. Again, I'm speculating, but to badger with questions, for him to say, I don't want to answer those questions, and then to imprison him, that's a huge problem.
Posting pictures with Louisa?
Louisa, she was my friend. She was trying to help me. So what's wrong with that?
No. That looks more than like friendship.
Okay,
that's
wait.
more than friendship
wait.
there.
You need to wait. No, wait.
That's more than friendship.
Yeah, I mean, there seems to be a fair amount of evidence that it was more than a friendship. And she has every right to be suspicious and hurt. What do we do with that hurt? What do we do with that suspicion? That's the key.
Divorce.
You mean annulment?
I just came to have an adult conversation with Danielle and convince her that she pulls the annulment and change it to a divorce, because I don't want to get deported and I want to stay here in America.
All right, that's fine. How do you implement that motivation? Do you try to argue with her? A more nicer approach would work of, I'm sorry. Her heart's broken, so apologize for that. I'm sorry I broke your heart. I'm sorry I left you. I'm sorry that I, might have cheated on you. You didn't deserve that. When we got married, I thought things might work, but it didn't. I'm just not into you anymore, or I don't like the way you treat me. Who knows? Maybe it's you, maybe it's me, whatever. Point is I'm done and I'm sorry, and please, I beg you, do not threaten to kick me out of the country, because a lot of things depend on me staying in this country. So if you could please, something like that. Now, I'm guessing he would say, well, she's disrespected me, so I don't want to plead with her. Well, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So, plus, I suspect that if we knew exactly what was happening, that she does deserve at least somewhat of an apology. Now, he deserves an apology too. Obviously, she just admitted behavior that she obviously needs to apologize. So mutual apologies. Let's see if they do it.
I was trying to make this work with you, trying to
You were not.
I've been living with you for 2 years.
Mohamed.
You applied for me to get the K1 visa, means you own me.
I brought you here. I trust.
Interesting. The complete opposite of what I was recommending. You owe me? You owe me. What does she owe you for? That's an interesting way of, if he thinks that's an interesting way of thinking. I don't think either one of them owe each other anything, but it's an interesting way of thinking.
I want to take no responsibility at all for his actions.
The only way to move on is to get a divorce. So what you're trying to do is to get me deported. That's what you're trying to do?
I feel used by you. You were supposed to make a life here with me.
Right. I don't know the details behind the scenes of this relationship, but from what I can see, that feels totally rational, that she would feel used, that she feels rejected, she feels hurt, because she thought K1 visa, we'll be together forever. That's what he told her, presumably, at least on the altar. And she's hurt by that. Yeah, makes total sense.
So you are a selfish person. What about me? You was giving me a hard time. You made me hate myself in that time. That's why I don't want to be your husband.
And he's totally entitled to say, I don't want to be with you because of the way you treat me. They're both, under normal circumstances, they would just divorce and move on. So, and from the beginning, I've been hoping that she'll just do that instead of threatening this other action, which seems motivated by revenge, which, she's, and I've been debating that too, of Well, if you think a crime has been committed, essentially an immigration crime, then I guess maybe one could justify that to themselves. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments.
I feel used and like trash. Why would I want you to stay here?
It's not your country. It's not your house. You don't have the keys of this country. This country is for everybody
No,
else.
not when there's other people responsible for you and can get in trouble by the government.
Oh, okay. I forgot all about that detail. That kind of makes some sense. That if he stays, then we've heard other lawyers talk to other people about how, I think for 10 years or maybe longer, that Danielle is responsible for him monetarily or something. And so maybe there is a legitimate reason why she would want to move to annulment and say, hey, find someone else to marry you because I don't want to be responsible for you in that way. You know, makes sense. Now, you would hope that people would make sure they're compatible before getting married on a K-1 to begin with. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.